morning, ladies and gentlemen. Fantastic. What a complete pleasure it is to be here in this wonderfully colourful and flavoursome country. Yesterday, as I made my way here from the airport, I saw an advertisement by the side of the road which said, "Global in spirit, Indian at heart." And that one sentiment, I think, sets the scene for everything else we're going to say today. Now, I have in my career had the pleasure of following technology and engineering pretty well all the way around the globe and seeing the effect that it has on society. And as I came to look deeply at India, I decided I'd look at the poetry, but I didn't realize quite how much of it there was. But I stumbled on this line, which you can see on this slide. That is that intelligence without ambition is a bird without wings. Ambition we can see all around us. Ambition we can see with the fine gentlemen we have on this stage. Ambition we can see all over this board here. Ambition made in India. Ambition, a world non-ferrous ecosystem. I look at the story of India here that you'll find in your delegate packs to increase manufacturing share of GDP from 15% to 25%, to improve ease of doing business to rank 50, to grow GDP 8% year on year the next 3 years, to work in infrastructure and housing and renewable energy and automotive. The ambition is there. So what of the intelligence? I learned last night from Sunil that the first mention of an aeroplane was made in India 300 years BC. The first time somebody thought of an aeroplane. And this made me think of the spice routes and the silk routes. This is why I've called my presentations today Flavors of Yesterday and Tomorrow. Because I don't think people quite realize the effect of India on the world we're in today. The spice routes and the silk routes started about 300 years BC and finished in about 1450. And along the silk routes, the roads you can see in this diagram, came silk from the east and wool from the west, and all the treatments and the weaving and the technology that went with them. And by sea, on the spice routes, came everything that could be shipped as a commodity. Spices and pigments, all sorts of different things. And India, as you can see, was right in the middle. And sometimes people ask me about India's contribution to the world. Well, being right in the middle of those routes, as all those things were being transported, along with them came knowledge and stories. The first alloying of carbon and iron to make steel, 300 BC, India. Are there any Italians in the building? Good. Because the Italians will tell you that in 1897, they created radio. It was not Marconi, it was 1895, first demonstrated in Calcutta. What else came from India? Shampoo. Any Greeks in the room who think that they invented mathematics? No, we have zero, the number zero, the decimal point, and algebra. India. And when England thought it ruled the world with its wonderful wool trade, which came to its peak around 1200 AD, it traded along with India, who had been farming cotton and doing it much better since about 4000 BC. And if any of you go to Italy and have a look around the Uffizi Gallery, you'll notice that no paintings have the colour blue in them till 1420, when the colour blue travelled from India to Europe. Michelangelo's The Holy Family is the first painting to have blue in it, and it was considered one of the great wealths of the earth. From India we have buttons, we have cotton for our shirts, we have sugar, we have the number, pi, diamond cutting, zinc smelting, ammonium nitrate, rulers, and the game chess, among many, many other things. These are the flavours of India from yesterday. We're here today to talk about metals. And to talk about metals, I use this, the British £2 coin. It's a fascinating coin because of the design. The design on the £2 coin shows us man's development through metal. The design in the middle is a Celtic knot, which tells us about the Bronze Age, when we first made things from metal, which for 3,000 years was enough. Then we started using metal to make engine parts and parts for mechanisms, for machines that could do the work of many people. And we had the Industrial Revolution, and for 300 years this was enough. And then around the middle of the 20th century we started electronics. With electrification, our machines could be more and more precise. We had mass production, the electronic revolution, and for 40 years that was enough. And then we realized that that electronics could share information, as we do with Mtlexs, and with the internet, and people started sharing opinions, which started changing politics all around the world. That last ring is a pair of twisted wires, the information era. The question I'd like you to think about today is, if there was a fifth ring, what would it be? Who knows? Maybe it's the end for metal. Who knows? Who knows what the future will bring? I don't. If I did, I wouldn't be standing here. I'd be very rich somewhere else. E-metals. The perfect combination. I can tell you three things with certainty about the future. One, the human population will continue to rise. That half of the world has a standard of living that the other half of the world wants to have. And the other half of the world will not take 500 years to get that standard of living, they'll take 50. This is the greatest rise in consumerism we could ever imagine. I looked at the news this morning and saw that the World Aviation Authority has now signed up to the reduction of CO2 emissions. That China has agreed to the Paris Agreement. There is an enormous opportunity and demand to do things right. That is for certain. And finally, that as we get better and better at doing things, that engineers will continue to choose the right materials for the job. And it's our duty to make sure they get those materials in the cleanest, most effective way possible. And then there are the people who govern finance and look at the way we govern all the business that we do. And these are the people that really wish that there was certainty. They hate it when graphs do this. They prefer it when they do that. And it's nice and easy to predict. As China falls from its 16% GDP to about the 6% it is now, the banking community think, wow, I wish there was another China. Maybe India is going to be the new China. I tell you, in my opinion, it most definitely is not going to be the new China. It's going to be something different and something with much more potential. India is geographically 1/3 of the size of China, but has 200,000 kilometers more roads. It's better connected on the inside. In terms of future growth, China is at 54% urbanization and slowing. India is at 32% and speeding up. Outside of America, the biggest population of English-speaking people is India, 130 million. And for those of you like me who believe that the Americans don't actually speak English, it's number one. China, by comparison, 0.8%. India, internet ready, the third biggest users of Facebook. Currently in China, no Google, no Facebook, no YouTube. Social media sets the world communication agenda at the moment. India has this outward-facing attitude that is not matched by China's. Opportunities for the future. India imports currently 28% of its energy. China just 11%. The opportunity for India to create more energy is huge. India currently consumes 0.6 tons of oil equivalent energy per person per year versus China's 2 tons. India is much more lean in its energy consumption, but as GDP grows, as we'll talk later, it will consume more. The opportunity to generate power cleanly is enormous. China has an infrastructure surplus. India has infrastructure opportunities. The fastest growth driver of GDP is infrastructure, without any doubt. Is India the new China? No, it most definitely isn't. It's the new India. And it's a very, very, very exciting place to be. So what shall we talk about for the next 2 days? Om Nom Shiva. Shiva, the great third eye. The ability to see all things, and when Shiva opens the great third eye, the ability to see beyond what all else can see. To see outwards and to see inwards. As we talk about the great non-ferrous ecosystem and India's potential for the future, to use non-ferrous metals, to recycle, to attract foreign business, it starts with improvements from within. And then improvements in the way we do things, and the improvements in the way we deal with the outside world. Like Shiva, to see inside and outside. And if we achieve those things, the flavor of tomorrow could be this: an innovative, non-ferrous ecosystem in India. A very, very, very exciting place to be. And perhaps the first great step towards that is going to happen here in the next 2 days with your help. Thank you.